Welcome in, everybody. Hope you all had a wonderful Halloween weekend out there. What a huge weekend of hockey we just had. If you're a UMaine Black Bear fan, what a great weekend that was. If you're a Maine Mariners fan, 5-point weekend for the team. And the Boston Bruins have kind of suddenly won three in a row. And I promise you, we're going to talk about all of that this week. But for today's episode, I am very delighted to welcome in Executive Director of USA Hockey, Mr. Pat Kelleher. That interview is coming up next. A big thank you to Maine Mariners owner Dexter Payne for helping to introduce me to Pat, and certainly a big thank you to Pat for giving us time today. So, without any further ado, here we go. Well, welcome back, everybody. This is Pucks from the Pine Tree Pod. I'm your host, Benjamin Kennedy. I am today delighted, I am humbled to welcome in our next guest, Hockey Hall of Fame Board of Directors member and Executive Director of the USA Hockey, Mr. Pat Kelleher. Pat, welcome in.
Hey, Benjamin. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here with you.
Happy to talk to you. Been excited for this one, Pat. So absolutely appreciate you being here. We're going to dive right in. We got a number of topics to cover today. Want to start with Four Nations Face Off. Of course, that event, such a successful event last winter. Been a few months now to digest it. What are some of your key takeaways and learnings from that tournament?
Well, it was an amazing event right up until it wasn't.
Right.
Right up until the absolute final moment. But there's been so much talk about that event. It was truly spectacular for hockey and especially for hockey in our country and in a variety of different ways. One, the interest it had. I mean, we haven't seen, television numbers like that since probably the 2010 Olympics in Vancouver, watching hockey in our country. So that was huge. Just the growth of the game, exposure, more families coming to it, hopefully as a result. And number two, obviously on the competitive side, right? We haven't had our best players together since 2014, really best on best for the American side, and that gave us the opportunity to get that group together. It gave us an incredible opportunity to play against Canada, Sweden, and Finland in a very quick turnaround and quick tournament, which again we certainly wanted to win. We had an incredible showing and came up short in overtime, unfortunately. So I think from that part, it gave us all, and especially our players, a hunger and an excitement to get to February of 2026 in Milan for the Olympics and try and get that win that we feel we need and want to have at the men's international best on best level and in the Olympics.
You mentioned best on best play. Of course, players have been screaming for this for ages, and now we have it back, right? It's finally back. Talking about those Olympic Games, just how excited are you for Milan?
Well, there's so much going into it. It is awesome, and I think as your listeners probably recognize, we at USA Hockey, we run the men's program, the women's program, and the sled program. So we're going over there with not only the NHL guys on the men's side, but the number one team in the world on the women's side, the defending gold medal champions, and then in Paralympics on the sled side, our sled hockey team has been dominant for years and won the most recent world championship. So we are going over and telling everyone our plan is to come back with 3 gold medals. Those are the expectations. And I think that's really healthy for us, put some pressure on for sure, but that's where our athletes are at. We don't look to take a backseat to anybody in hockey, and we're excited to get over there with all of our teams. Lots to be done between now and then. Knock on wood, we want to make sure everybody's healthy when we get there to February, but there's a lot of hockey to be played until our athletes get over there. But having the NHL back involved and having our best players involved is huge because we are a grassroots membership association. We oversee youth hockey at every level within our country, and the goal is to grow the game, make the game as good as it can be for everyone who's involved, and at the end of the day, try and win gold medals internationally. So, we're doing really well on all those fronts, and 3 gold medals coming out of Milan would really be a nice boost to all those efforts.
There would be a nice flight back for sure with 3 gold.
Absolutely.
That would be great. So, of course, your staff is in place. We know the top 6 on the men's roster. Just what sort of challenge is this going to be, filling out the rest of that squad with so many good choices?
Well, the good news is I don't have to make those choices.
Good.
No, John Van Beesbroek is on our staff, and John oversees our international programs. And we selected Billy Guerin from the Minnesota Wild to be our GM for not only it was Four Nations, it was the Olympics, and help us with our men's world championship, which, we did win last year for the first time in 92 years. Mm-hmm. So again, competing at the highest level on the men's side is huge and it's significant for us. But Bill has a staff. They're meeting weekly. They're evaluating players, and they're going to have a lot of hard decisions. We've got depth at every position. Again, I mentioned earlier, we need to be healthy, right? I think obviously at this time right now that both Tkachuk brothers are out of their respective lineups, and so that's a concern. And if you go back to the Four Nations, we were missing Quinn Hughes and Charlie McAvoy in our back end, and hopefully those guys will be healthy. So that's a big factor. I think it's also looking to make sure they know what roles people are going to play. As Bill Guerin says often, listen, everybody we're picking is the top penalty killer or the top power play guy on their teams. And now some of them won't be. And how do they pick a role, find a role, embrace it? So lots of conversation. Again, we just hope we have access to all the best players, that they're all healthy and ready to go. And then our group's going to have to make some hard decisions to pick that final roster. Not going to be easy, but it's a great problem to have.
Yeah, great problem to have. And to your point there, an all-star roster versus the best fit. And I think that's the job of Guerin and your group. So it's going to be really exciting to see what kind of team you have rolling out there to Milan. Yeah. Of course, we know, Pat, everybody's chasing Canada, right? We maybe don't want to admit we've gotten a lot closer to Canada. We've had some victories and we've had a lot of close calls with them in recent history. In your mind, what's the biggest challenge to facing Canada if we get there, let's say in a gold medal game, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, we just got to get over the hump here. I mean, I don't know, there's a better way to say it. And, we have respect for all the countries. Certainly the one that you mentioned has had a long history of success. But I think where we're at is at our elite level, and we're talking the men's side here, at the elite levels, U17, U18, our national team development program. Those players have done a lot of winning as part of their development in those years. World Juniors, back-to-back gold medalists in the World Juniors. Plenty of players have had success at the World Junior level. Men's World Championships is again the challenge. We don't always get our best players because the NHL playoffs are going on, and it's the end of the NHL season in May in Europe. But for us, I do like to think it's, hey, we worry about us. We're at a point where, I remember maybe years ago we built teams. How can we beat, this team or that team? And now it's really how do we build the best team? Because if we build the best team, we think we can certainly play with anybody and beat anybody. And again, based on last year's World Championships, we are currently the number one ranked team in men's. We're currently the number one ranked team in women's, and currently the number one ranked team in sled. So there are other teams in other countries looking up at our teams. So it's a little bit of a different position to have that across the board for us. But that's what we're trying to. We want to be the best hockey playing country in the world, and we succeeded last year. Won 4 out of 6 gold medals in international competition, and the eyes are on us for the Olympics. I mean, that's the challenge. It was great to do it last year. Certainly wouldn't throw anything back or trade anything other than a goal in overtime in the Four Nations. No. But, for this year, we got to do it again and on the biggest stage possible in the Olympics.
Yeah, going to be a lot of fun to watch. I'm not a big Olympic guy, but I am more excited for this Olympics than I have been probably since I was a child. So I think that says a lot. I think there's a lot of probably NHL hockey fans that are feeling the same way. So that's really exciting. You mentioned, the grassroots effort with your organization, and there has been a lot of growth in the game here in the U.S. under your tenure at USA Hockey. A lot of efforts being made in the women's game and some of those emerging markets, out west and down south. I would just ask you this, Pat, what are you most proud of when you think about that as during your tenure as president?
Well, I think where we got to is years ago, and it was kind of in my previous role here. I've been in this role as now actually the executive director of USA Hockey for 8 years. And prior to that, I had a role in membership development, growing the game, and our foundation development, trying to grow support for our game, people to give back financially to help us. And I think the biggest thing is we made an effort, concerted effort as an organization to be about growing the game all the time. And make that our priorities. How do we grow the game? And going back to that, it was defining how to grow the game. So it's a big term. And I remember being in a meeting and a guy said, your job's to grow the game. What does that mean? And it was a great question.
Mm.
And for us, we defined it as USA Hockey. We are a grassroots membership association. We want more kids playing the game across the country. We want them on the ice. That's how we grow as an organization and as a business. And ultimately, that's the health of the game across the country is participation. The NHL does an amazing job, and they develop tons of fans for the game. And some of those fans bring their families and kids back into play. But our role, and we partner heavily with the NHL and all the member teams in the U.S., is to grow the game, get more kids on the ice, more boys, more girls, and again, into our disabled programs, make sure the game is truly for everyone. And, to do that is getting people on the ice. So I think that's the biggest thing for me. I grew up with 4 younger brothers in the Boston area. We all played. Our dad coached. Our mom did everything that any volunteer ever would be asked to do. So I know the impact the game has on people, on lives, and on families. And we just want to share that. We want more people involved with hockey because we think it does such a wonderful thing. The old, every kid in hockey has to learn how to fall down and get back up. And we look at that as life skills through our game. So that's probably the biggest thing for me is we continue to grow participation in hockey across the country because we love our sport and we want more people to be involved with it.
Nice. And I look at the women's side, just so refreshing to see the PWHL, all the success they're having. Talk about the women's game for a moment. We talk about growth. How is the junior side for women's growing? And do you see the PWHL having a major impact on generating interest and growth?
We are very excited about the PWHL to have a women's professional league that gives players a path to point from youth hockey to maybe college hockey to an opportunity to play in the national team and then on to to be a professional at the same time at that national team level is really significant because there's a lot of players in the PWHL that have come through our programs that are great players. They get the chance to play pro hockey, and that does have a trickle down effect. I mean, that's, again, we talked about the NHL impact on growing the game, and PWHL is really still in its infancy. So we're excited about the future for that. And it's great for our players, the players that have given so much and, wanted to have a pro hockey, a real true pro hockey experience and environment. It's been very, very positive. And I think the thing, again, for USA Hockey, it's our job to feed more players into that league. We produce a lot of players to play college hockey. We produce the women's national team and the Olympic team. And ultimately, we want to produce and put more players in the PWHL. Just providing more opportunities for kids and the kids to have a dream. I mean, I think really the biggest thing is that most of us as youth hockey players, if we get a chance to play anywhere in college, would be fantastic. When you look at it beyond that, it's just the numbers are so small, but it gives that opportunity, that aspirational goal to continue to kind of move up. And we've grown this year in USA Hockey. We'll go over 100,000 registered female participants.
Awesome.
Which is huge for us. And so, that's a big part of what we do. And the girls hockey, I mean, if you go to see, I say girls hockey, if you go and watch a 16-year-old girls hockey game, the level of play is phenomenal. The depth of players and the development of girls and women's hockey is amazing to see. And we have lots and lots of players, and the quality and the skill level gets better every year.
Yeah, watching some of the PWHL on TV. I haven't been to a live game yet. I got to get down to Lowell this year to check out the Fleet. Girls are physical. It's a much more physical game than I even realized. And that, I don't know, it took me off guard for sure.
Yeah, well, for most people, if they've seen a U.S.-Canada women's game,
those are physical.
That can be a physical game, and a largely clean physical game. Yeah. And the PWHL has made some changes in their rules to have a little bit more physical play in the game, and I think it looks like it's been positive for the game so far, and still has a high emphasis on skill play, but body contact is a skill. And body checking is a skill, and used properly, it's part of the game. So I think the PWHL has done some really nice things to try and advance the women's game, and hopefully will continue to do so.
That's great. Talking more around accessibility, of course, I've talked to Maine Mariners owner Dexter Payne about just the lack of ice that we have here in our state of Maine. And I know that's a problem around the country. Is there an easy fix to this, or is it just a matter of not enough, nonprofit organizations out there to support it?
It'll be an ongoing evergreen challenge for us, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's, you look at other sports, and to have everybody has basketball courts or soccer
Mhm.
fields, those are relatively easy and not all that expensive. I mean, not cheap, but relatively easy to have and to make use of. Ice rinks are challenging. They're not easy businesses to run. We do have a lot of private facilities that have been built around the country, but those differ on the communities and the areas they're at. Obviously, our growth in places like Florida and Texas and California have come from private business
Mhm.
building ice rinks, and that's not necessarily the same around the Northeast. It's just a different mentality, I would say. So
Sure.
we have to do what we can with the rinks we have, make the most of each rink, and try and maximize the operations to put as many kids and people on the ice as we can. Um, and then it is, if we can continue to find ways to build more rinks, then that's something that we are a part of. The NHL's invested in that to try and help, but they're not they're challenging businesses to
Sure.
run. We own and operate the USA Hockey Arena in Plymouth, Michigan, and it's not an easy business, but we think we've done a lot to try and help. Again, if we can have more participation and more kids
Yeah.
coming into rinks, it helps the business.
Yeah, for sure. I know we're excited locally. The Maine Mariners just announcing that they're putting up a practice facility here in Southern Maine for the team. Dexter's talked a lot about the accessibility for youth hockey and things like that in the area too. So we're excited locally for that. Last one around the accessibility issue. We know the cost of the sport. We know the lack of ice. What other strides, though, are you making and your organization making to help accessibility? And what challenge? What's maybe the biggest challenge you face with
Yeah,
that?
I think we're the probably the limit we have on ice rinks is probably the biggest challenge.
Okay.
We know most people live within, say, 15 to 20 miles of the facility they're going to skate out of for the majority of our population. So that is a challenge. One of the probably not one of the biggest thing we did now close to 17 years ago was introduce the American Development Model, or ADM, as many in hockey know it by. It basically is a model to put the athlete first, do age appropriate training and development, and make sure everyone that comes in has a great experience and learns the skills necessary to play hockey at the right time. And I think for a long, long time, and still today, we have the race to make kids into hockey players before we make them or allow them to be athletes and or choose our game. So if we have a 6 or 7 year old come in, we used to do a great job of committing them and their families to lots and lots and lots of hockey. And I think we want to have kids that can develop. The best 7 year old is very rarely the best 17-year old. And so what's most important is to give those 7 year olds the best experience at age 7 so they can stay in the game and have a chance to be the best at 17. And I think we've done a good job of, again, more participation, growth of the game. When kids come in, the ADM blueprint hopefully allows for development and kids to play other sports. Some of our best athletes at the NHL level, they certainly played a lot of hockey, but they also played other sports and are great athletes. And I think that's something that we've really focused on and continue to emphasize on the youth hockey side. Listen, be a great athlete, and we want those great athletes to stay in hockey because they love it and that's where they want to be. So I think that's been a huge factor, and it's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity to make our game better for everyone that participates in it.
I've got a 5-year-old boy, as my regular listeners know. The one sport he hasn't tried yet is hockey. Me and Mama, we talked about it last summer. We have a hockey program, a summer program here, and we were a little late to get him signed up. There were two goalie positions left. That was it. So I remember turning to my 5-year-old saying, "You want to play goal?" It's like, "Oh, no, I want to skate." So we might try it next year with him. Get a little, be a little earlier for the sign up, but yeah, I mean, it fills up quick here. Very limited space, so it's nice to see the just the interest, the level of interest rising around it. It's really great. Of course, we've had a few months now to digest the change with NCAA hockey, having now the ability to bring in CHL players. Pat, what are your thoughts around this? What are your worries? What are your concerns around this? And what impact is it going to have on USA hockey?
Well, our job is to make sure it has as little of an impact as possible. But the reality is, we're dealing with something that has been we're dealing with a rule change that was out of our control or out of our hands, and it's something that had been in place for more than 50 years. So the whole infrastructure, whether you're in US or Canada, is kind of built around this in some ways. And so for us, the biggest challenge is the pool of available players for NCAA college hockey program. We're talking again on the men's side, has grown, and it's grown by primarily not American players. Most American players have been eligible because they stayed in our structure and system. But now you have, more than 1,000 Canadian players eligible probably every year that never were before in the past.
Right.
So our challenge is to make sure we continue to develop more players, more American players to put into college hockey, that they're capable, they're ready, and that's the path that they want to go through. So the bigger, challenger picture there is I think we have 61 men's Division I college hockey programs, and I don't know that number will grow. And now you have a whole other group of players that are eligible that have never traditionally been eligible, and so it's created a big change in the landscape. And some is good, some is not so good, but our job is to make sure we continue to develop as many players or more players to hopefully fill those spots, and recognize that for us, we always say we're a college-bound country. We point players at the highest levels to go, through our national team development program or through junior hockey on the men's side, and then on to college hockey before professional hockey. And that's the way we've done it. We've always had good partnerships with college hockey and the programs, and now we just have to make sure we're strong and continue to supply players. I mean, they want the best players, and we believe we produce many of the best players, so we have to continue to do that.
I brought that question up to UMaine's hockey coach, Ben Barr. I had him on the show this summer, and he was just kind of like, yeah, nobody really knows what the rules are between that. And now you've got professional players now dipping back into college. We have a former Maine Mariner, I think, playing University of Alberta this year. So it's just, it's kind of turned into the wild, wild west a little bit.
It absolutely has, and not really for the better in a lot of cases. And, frankly, there's some significant disappointment in the NCAA in a lot of regards. I get it. They have challenges. And football and basketball obviously would be a lot bigger in scope in the NCAA world than college hockey is. But there's been a lot of changes around college athletics. Again, I don't think for the positive. I get it as well, like the transfer portal, things like that. They just make college athletics a lot different space than it is that we would be used to, or most people would be used to. And, those impacts are now being felt in college hockey more so than before. And, you're right, to have players that have played actual professional hockey being eligible to play college hockey now is crazy, for lack of a better description. So we're all trying to figure out how this is going to work, where it's going to go. And I think we'll see, this is the first year of it. So the impact has been probably maybe more pronounced in this first year. I think we'll see a spot where, water finds its level a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to take a little while to sort itself out. And hopefully, we as the hockey community in the U.S. can continue to find ways to work together to make it better for players, better for programs, better certainly for our point of view for American players.
Staying on the college hockey front, of course, I live in Maine. We're not Minnesota, right? We know Minnesota has that hockey culture, but Maine has a pretty good hockey culture here too. Of course, the UMaine program gets a lot of attention, and for good reason, but we have got a very strong NCAA D3 culture here in the state. We know every kid wants to play D1. We get that, but we often see D3 players end up in the ECHL or playing professionally overseas, really good. Do you, in your estimation, is the value of D3 hockey kind of overlooked? Is it being underutilized when it comes to player development?
Yeah, I don't. It's a good question. I'm not sure if it's overlooked. I mean, it's definitely a part of it. And again, it depends on where you're at and where you're developing players. I think where we look at it is, from USA Hockey, boys and girls, we want every kid to have the best experience in hockey. And if they get a chance to play in college, whether that's Division I, Division III, or the American Collegiate Hockey Association, non-varsity, what people term as club hockey, they get to have a college hockey experience, right? And again, I mentioned I have great respect for the University of Maine. I have of my four younger brothers, one played at BU, one played at BC, so we know the battles for years and years with UMaine hockey, and how strong that program historically has been. And I know back near the top again this year. But then I have two brothers that played D3 hockey. And we all had different experiences, but we had great opportunities to play in college. And I know people that have, know plenty of kids that have played it in non-varsity or college club programs that had a great college hockey experience. And to me, that's kind of what we look at, is there's an opportunity. I think D3 hockey is only getting stronger and stronger. The Colbys, the Bowdens of the world, you look at those schools. I mean, there's some great players. And they hopefully, and I think, right, there's some players that at either of those schools, Colby or Bowden, that could probably play at Maine. For whatever reason they're not, but they have a great college hockey experience, and that'll go hopefully a long way in their lives and make connectivity. And ultimately for us, it's, hey, play college hockey as long as you can, or if you can. And then hopefully when you get out, you stay involved in hockey, whether you get a chance to play pro or not, you stay involved with it, so that when it comes back around at some point, you're going to bring your kids to the game, or you're going to coach the game, or you're going to officiate the game, and help make, hopefully for those players, make their sport, make hockey stronger across our country.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, there's so many different ways you can stay involved, and you see a lot of former college players, as you said, coaching, scouting, officiating, things like that. So that's great. Moving down to the junior level, of course, here locally, we experienced a little bit of disruption up in our Lewiston, Maine market with the addition of the Lewiston Maniacs that came in, part of the NCDC. It led to a lot of uncertainty for the existing team, the Maine Nordiques, part of the NAHL. And there's been all sorts of rumors that the Q might return to Lewiston, where they did have a home here a while ago. Your thoughts on this junior team kind of, I'll call it, mess that we have, and would the Q ever be allowed back in Lewiston, Maine?
Well, again, it kind of goes back to our previous conversation about with the change in the rule in the NCAA and the impact. Junior hockey is great for so many players, but there's business aspects to it, and the businesses need to be run properly. Within our structure, we have the USHL as the Tier 1 junior league that's basically based out of the Midwest, and the North American Hockey League is our Tier 2 league, and they're spread across the country. And we want to see those teams and programs be really successful. And then we have Tier 3 junior and the NA3HL. Those are all under and within USA Hockey. So those are the ones that we kind of concentrate on. There's some that are outside of USA Hockey that right. We don't know as much about. So we want to have those operators be strong, recognize there's challenges sometimes in markets, and ideally for us, those things get cleaned up through our leagues and our league structure, and that those programs can be successful. Again, I think when you go to talking about the Quebec League or anything else in junior hockey, it's a little bit of let's all see where this is going and how we can all figure out a way to work together between the two countries, Canada and the U.S., and make sure junior hockey's as strong as it can be. But it's also, like I said, we're just dealing with the changes and impact of the rule change, again, and the impact it has on a hockey ecosystem or structure in North America that's been operating a certain way for more than 50 years. So we're managing that. We have lots of great conversations with different groups to see how we can do it and provide opportunities for more players. So TBD, I guess, on some of those questions there.
Sure.
We'll see where it goes in the future.
Yeah, I think we'll all be really curious. The Q is very popular here, but I know it's, kind of treading on U.S. territory. So that certainly can be some challenges there. Well, Pat, thank you so much. I have one last question for you. Back at the USA winter meetings, there was the concept of the development league that was announced. Can you share any progress that's been made on that front?
Yeah, so development league is something we've talked about for a while, honestly, the concept. And it's really, it's right now, it's on the boys' side to start with. And it is trying to take, so Tier 1 youth hockey, or AAA hockey that people are familiar with, has expanded and grown, and again, in a lot of places, in a lot of a good way. But we're looking at how do we make an even maybe a smaller universe of players that follow the principles of our American development model on player development, in that, really, let's say 15 to 17 window, where we can hopefully develop more elite players to move on to all these junior hockey programs, ultimately on a college hockey in the NHL. And it goes back to, again, with the size of our country and the opportunity to play games, we have people traveling all over the place to play. And sometimes at the practices you don't have as many practices as you need, right? The development
Mm.
changes more to competition versus development. And we're trying to find a balance with that with the development league. And we have a lot of clubs out there that want to do really the right thing, and try and do the best for players and develop. So, it's a concept we're going to continue. We have meetings coming up with our board again, and then our winter meeting in January, we'll roll out a little bit more on that. But we have, organizations across the country that are working with us, that are existing tier 1 clubs and programs that want to participate, still run their programs and clubs, and have a team or two, depending on the age levels, in the development league, where they would follow basically the guidelines and rules put in place, and be, specific on, okay, this is how we are working to develop elite players, for the next level to move on to junior and do that. So again, lots of work to be done there. But we've had great feedback from people across the country. And, as you alluded to, youth or high school age hockey is different in a lot of parts of the country. Minnesota,
Sure.
Massachusetts, California, they're not the same. So how do we balance that, have respect for the great things that are happening around the country, but make sure we do, advance our game to develop more elite players? We recognize it's only, I think we looked at it, we're talking about really 3% of the players on the boys side, on the population to be impacted. But, we think if we do this properly and kind of do that, we can expand that and have more players impacted positively, in their own programs, based again on some of these development philosophies and principles we have in place.
Love it. Can't wait to see how that develops. Well, Pat, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time out of your super busy schedule to talk to us today. I cannot thank you enough, sir.
Well, our pleasure. Thanks for all you do, and love every part of our country. Maine obviously has a great hockey tradition, and certainly hope we can develop more players out of there as well.
Would love to see that. Everyone, I'll be back on later this week. We have a whole lot of great hockey to discuss from the weekend. Maine getting a couple big wins, the Maine Mariners a 5-point weekend, and the Bruins suddenly 3 wins in a row. Thank you so much for watching and listening today. If you're already subscribing to my channel, thank you so much. If you're new, thank you for checking this out. Thank you for giving me a chance. Hit that like and subscribe button down below. It'll help you stay up to date on everything coming up next. And until next time, everybody, be kind, show love, and God bless.